Welcome. Oh, wait, here we go. Hey, everybody. Welcome into the Irish Guys Podcast YouTube channel. I think I went a wee bit too early there, but I think we're all right now. Yeah, Clive's back.
Hello.
Yeah, we did one of these last week, just like a wee preview, build up for the weekend's games, the divisional round in the NFL. We're going to do another wee one tonight for the championship games this weekend. But I did a wee video earlier in the week on my thoughts on what way the games went last weekend. So, Clive, how did your weekend go?
Mine was all right. It was good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Just not the NFL, but the weekend was good.
Do you want to talk about it?
You sound like a therapist. I don't know. Are we just going to get into it? We're just going to talk about the Saints Bucks game.
I don't really care if you talk about much else, but I want to hear what you thought on that.
Oh, Jesus. Mate, I was convinced. I watched it up until just after half time. Then I had to go to bed because I work in the morning. But I was convinced half time. It was like, we're in it. It's happening. We're doing it. I was just hoping that Drew was going to get that possession just towards the end of the second half, take that down, the second quarter, just take that down, run it and score it. But the guy just didn't develop any offense. It just wasn't there. And it's a bad time to find out, but they dealt with a run game an awful lot better than I thought they would. Fair play to them. They ran the ball an awful lot more than I thought they would. Fair play to them. And Tom's not going to turn it over and give you freebies. So
I thought, Brady, you did a good number on Brady. Brady struggled. Brady did struggle. Your defense, it wasn't they put up 30 points, but they really had to work for it, and it was more the turnovers and that you give them that cost you the game, to be fair.
Yeah, so that was depressing, but Vesty was a happy man, and that made my heart happy just to hear that man's there was a little giggle in his laugh whenever Josh Allen's winning stuff. It's always good.
What about I was having a good laugh with the Jameis Winston play that he drew up.
Yeah, he nicked that. Did you see it?
It was the Bears the week prior.
Yeah, the week before. The week before they done it, we just did it better and scored, and they didn't.
It's the most Sean Payton thing ever,
It is 100% Sean Payton.
Is that the end for Al Drew? Is it?
Do you know what? I'm now at a point where the answer is I hope so, because I don't want to see a man drag himself through a season where everybody's going, do you know what? He needs to just leave it now. We're knackered in terms of cap space next year anyway. So him not coming back would help, to be really cynical. The problem is, what do we do at quarterback then? Do we go with Winston? I am not against going with James Winston. I know he threw 30 picks last year, whatever, but he also threw for 5,000 yards, and Sean Payton will keep it simple for him. So I kind of want to see that. I don't really want to see Taysom Hill stand the quarterback to start the game. That's not what I'm about. I think he's a good gadget player. He's a great guy to have on your team, great guy to have on your roster. I don't want to play quarterback.
Well, James was only a 1-year deal, wasn't he? So
yeah.
So you have to work out whether you even want to pick him back up, because your team's still good. Your team's still good enough, and it's not really too old or anything. So if you could get plug in a quarterback.
Yeah, I've got some other ideas of things that I would do. Number one, I'd just chuck a load of draft picks to Houston and say, give me Deshaun, but it's not going to happen. And we can't afford him anyway with the cap space. But I just think we just need a half decent course. Just somebody that's going to... Do you know what we need? We need Ryan Tannehill. Somebody that can throw it quite long, doesn't give it away, lets the defense in the run game win you games. That would do for us. Absolutely would do for us.
Well, there's I don't know what the cap situation. I don't know what the Saints cap situation is, but would you
be
Matthew Stafford? No.
Well, they just announced Dan Campbell's the new coach up there, haven't they? So is he gonna hit the reset button?
There's been a few I'd
get what I can for Stafford if I was them.
I don't mind, Matty. It's an interesting one this year as far as quarterback movement goes. There's a kind of what's the way? There seems to be a lot of teams a wee bit unsettled with what they have, and they feel that maybe it's now the time to move off them and stuff. There's going to be
is interesting because you know that I know quarterbacks coming out of college. You know this, that I called Pat Mahomes before he even taken a snap at the NFL. This year's quarterback class is not great. You've got
it's not top heavy.
You've got Trevor Lawrence, who will go first overall, 100%. He is a Jaguar. He may as well start packing. And then you've got, is it Justin Fields, the other one?
Yep.
Who I'm sort of like, he's good and he will be a starter and he will have a career. But is he unbelievable? I'm not sold on that. Basically, is he Dwayne Haskins or is he Lamar? I think he's somewhere in between. After that, I'm not convinced by anyone.
There's the Trey Lance one. He's the biggest question mark, like, isn't he? He's the one out of North Dakota State or whatever. He's the one that's coming out from where Wentz came from.
Yeah, level of opposition. Yeah. That'd be an interesting one. Would I take Wentz at the Saints? Yeah.
Aye. See, that's what I mean. There's a few, like, there's all this talk around Miami too, and I don't know whether to believe it or not, but like maybe moving off Tua.
Haha. Now, who told you that Tua was going to be a bust? Who told you?
If I was the Saints and the Miami was ready to move off him, I'd be inquired. I would inquire.
I'll take Jameis.
You know who you take? You take Fitzmagic.
Absolutely, you take Fitzmagic. Oh, Fitzmagic at the Saints. I'd take
Fitzmagic in a Sean Payton offense.
Oh, would just be crazy.
And win him the bowl that he just outright deserves.
Yeah. The biggest question for me in terms of quarterback next year is who is playing quarterback for the Pats?
That's another one, yeah. It's not Cam.
It's not Cam.
It's not Jarrett Stidham either, no. And then there's even sort of the Jimmy Garoppolo stuff as well. Like if San Fran are maybe willing to move off of him, if they move off him this summer, they can save 22 million or something. So
if there's a way to save money and send him back to New England, I could see that happening, and that would end badly for San Fran because you'd see him winning bowls. I don't know. That's a crazy one.
It's a weird season. Like, I mean, there's going to be a wee bit of court. Like, we've already seen Phillip Rivers retire as well. Drew could walk. And then you have other teams that are sort of, maybe semi in the market. When you think of the likes of Pittsburgh, are they going to stick with Big Ben? He doesn't looks like what he used to be and stuff as well too. So
yeah,
there's the amount of quarterback talent. Like me and you, followed it for like 12, 13, 14 years. The amount of quarterback talent around the league and the amount of men that have been starters is as deep as it's ever been. I think.
Yeah.
There's a lot of quarterbacks coming out that can make, like, even look at Wentz and Hurts, Tua, Fitzmagic's down there as well. You have Ben still. There's a lot of quarterbacks around the league, like.
You just need to land the right situation, the right environment, and all of a sudden you could go from being somebody's backup to being unbelievable for somebody else.
That's it now. Right. Well, we get into the weekend's games then. I've got the Bills and Chiefs written down here first.
Why do you always do it the opposite order to the way I've done it?
I don't know that.
It's all there.
Bills and Chiefs. This is the late night game, I think, isn't it? It's the later one of the two on Sunday.
I think so, yeah.
I suppose the big one, the only question, first of all and initially, is will Patrick Mahomes play and is he going to be healthy?
I'm going to tell you the answer.
Yes.
Yes, he's playing. 100% he's playing. Is he fit? I don't know about his toe, but I'm not buying this nonsense about his toe. He's got a toe issue, right? That's like the Hulk having like a nosebleed. It's not a thing like, don't just load him up in painkillers and say you'll be all right the Monday, sort of that. He'll be fine. So I think he will play. He'll be fine with the toe injury. The concussion thing, I don't know if you've seen the press releases yesterday, where if you noticed they had him down as being taking a full part in practice and then changed it to limited on the second release of it. So I think he's going to play. In terms of, I don't know how up to date you are with this, but I had a look because I've got loads of free time, looking up the NFL concussion protocol to see exactly what he actually had to do. So there's 5 steps. he's got to get to the end of them. There's no time frame on it. You've just got to fully complete one with no symptoms before they let you move on. The symptoms are all like sensitivity to light, dizziness, headaches, nausea, double vision, all that sort of stuff that we know about. So phase 1 is basically go for a walk and have a stretch. And if you can do that without symptoms, well done. Phase 2 is the aerobic exercise. So that's where they're basically treadmills or bikes, and they can do a bit of stretching and a bit of balance work, that kind of thing. And they've got to come through that without wobbling or falling over and all that kind of thing. Phase 3 is where I think he's just come out of. Phase 3's football-specific exercises. So he can do weight training, he can do conditioning training, and he's allowed 30 minutes of work with teammates, which I think was what they were trying to say he was at in that practice. Phase 4 would have been non-contact football drills. Would that not have been a full practice?
Yeah.
But then they changed it to a shorter practice and said that he had a limited part in practice. So I think, yeah, he's playing 100%. So if he comes through phase 4 and is basically able to manage non-contact football drills, then phase 5 is full football clearance.
Yeah.
So he's playing, and they're just trying to, I think, have a bit of suspense, basically make the Bills have to spend some time planning for Chad Henne, even though he's not playing.
Essentially, what they're saying there is if you get through phase 1 and phase 2, you're probably playing, because they're the phases of, oh shit, he is actually concussed as all hell. He can't stand up. He's light sensitive. That's for the really, really high end, like really bad, could last a couple of weeks concussions.
Yeah.
If you get through the first 2, really, you're pretty much good to go, like, aren't you?
There was videos of him taking snaps under center and throwing a ball. So he's in phase 4, and he'll be fine. I know they'll be really cautious with it. They won't let him play if there's any doubt, but I don't think he'd be doing this on Wednesday. Was it? No, or Thursday. Good. Yeah, we're on Thursday, and he's doing all that, so he's playing Sunday.
The only semi-worry then, if we're sort of assuming that he's playing, is if, he takes a hard hit or something along those lines. That could be the only,
He's not any more susceptible, because once he's cleared concussion, he's cleared of concussion. He is essentially back to normal. He's not more susceptible because he's had one last week.
Well, that's true too. Yeah. Right. We'll get into a bit of the breakdown then, as far as where these games can be won and lost. Then, Clive, how do you stop Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce?
How do you stop them? That is a good question. Because Chad Henne will get them the ball even if Pat's not playing. How do you stop them? Essentially, you've got to be able to stop the Chiefs' run game without blitzing. You've got to be able to do it with 4. And if you can do that, then that gives you time to cover and time to sort of help out on the back end. You've got to play too deep. Single high coverage is not going to work. Never works against them. So that's essentially how they're going to have to do it. And I know they've got Ed Oliver and that kind of thing, but you just got to stop the run. You've got to make them want to pass it.
The Chiefs, that's a good point. The Chiefs are 3rd in the league as far as yards on play action. So they like to establish a run a little bit and then give you a little bit of play action and then throw it down the field. The Bills' defense this year has definitely sort of, I would say, tried to corral teams. They're allowing you to run the football. They're allowing you a lot of the short down stuff, but they're not allowing a lot of downfield completions. And they're better in their secondary than they are in their front 7.
Yeah, I think the only worry that you might, I think the Browns played a really good game against the Chiefs, whether Pat was there or not last week. And what they were really good at doing was the whole bend but not break. Like, Chiefs kicked 4 field goals. I'd love to know the last time they kicked 4 field goals in a game. And if the Bills limit them to kicking field goals, Bills are going to score points. That's going to happen. So I think that the Bills just have to follow the Browns' kind of blueprint of try not to give away the big play, but let them have the field goal. 100% you can have the field goal.
The Bills' defense this year is tied 6th as far as over 20-yard completions. They've allowed 44 of them this year. So they're not allowing a lot deep down the field. You think of Tre'Davious White, Micah Hyde, Poyer. Their secondary is good. Their secondary is good. They can't. Well, one thing you can't do if you want to beat the Chiefs is to give up the big plays, and that they're sort of they're built to not do that. But it's whether or not that you can do that for the entirety of the game with the likes of Hill and Kelsey out there.
I mean, you've got to blitz at some point. You've got to stop the run game because if they run up and down on them, you have to start blitzing. There's no two ways about it. I think they've got a chance. I think they can do that. The big advantage the Bills have is that they are just as likely to pull out a big play and hit a big score with Allen as the Chiefs are. Maybe not quite as likely, but not far off it. And they've got that within them. So if there's a team that's maybe built to have a go at them, it might be the Bills.
I think they're both. If you think, if you kind of compare them at the minute, they're both quite, like, if you just in a vacuum or whatever, the Chiefs are an incredibly high-powered offense at the minute, as are the Bills. And then both defenses are kind of, they're good. They're good. They're not. They've got their weaknesses, but at the same time, the two teams match up quite well. Like, I think that what you could apply to one team here, you could apply to the other, as far as game plan. The Bills offense has been great as far as the passing game goes. Stephon Diggs has been fantastic. Cole Beasley as well. John Brown. They've all been very, very, very good. And the best probably it's going to be very, very hard to stop as well. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to have a very, very hard time stopping them. And I don't really think now. The one thing that I think that the Chiefs defense has, especially in the secondary, compared to these other, compared to their front seven, is they've got a few ball hawks back there.
Yeah,
that's where both these teams are very, very similar, but they have got a few ball hawks back there. I prefer the sort of like coverage, man to man, and different stuff that the Bills can do in their secondary, but the Chiefs secondary take the ball away. Rashad Breeland's got 2 picks this season. L'Jarius Sneed, the rookie's got 3 picks. Honey Badger's got 6.
You do know Honey Badger?
Honey Badger's back there. I think we were 5th in the league this year for takeaways for interception.
However, and this is the Bills' way to win the game. You've got to remember the Bills played the Ravens last week and let them score 3 points. That was it.
Yeah.
The Bills are Ravens' big play offense. All runs through Jacksonville. They can run and they can throw and they can do everything, and all they got was 3 points. So don't underestimate that. The difference being perhaps the game's not in Buffalo, and you've got to go to Kansas to do it. So they'll score. Chiefs are going to score more than 3 points, but if they can keep them to under 25 points, I think Josh Allen gets more than 25 points. If you look at, so the Bills are on an 8-game win streak at the minute, and of those 8 games, there's only 1 game that they didn't win by at least 10 points. So they're scoring stupid amount of points. I think the key for them, and it's because they've not been in the playoffs and because this is the biggest game they've been in. I hope they don't second guess and coach themselves out the game. That's the worry I have. I think if they decide they're going to go away from what's got them there, they're going to beat themselves. You've got to go into that game with Josh Allen and go, we're going to go through Josh Allen, we're going to play to his strength, and we're going to let him take risks, and we're going to let him try and win the game. Because I think if they get into a game with the Chiefs where they try and go, oh, well, we've really got to focus on the run, and you start playing the occasion and getting a bit conservative, they're done. It won't happen. They've got to go, the aim here is to score 40 points and see what happens.
Yeah, I think that's if you're scheming up, or if you're if you're the defensive coordinator of the Kansas City Chiefs, I think that you have to take away their big playability. I think last week the Ravens actually did quite a good job of that. The Ravens give Josh Allen a lot of underneath looks and give him a lot of the short yardage stuff, and he struggled. There was a few. I said that in the video I did earlier in the week that a lot of the receivers made a couple of big plays for him, a couple of bad throws and stuff. Diggsy made a couple. John Brown made a couple. Beasley made. They were very good at taking away the big hitter. And I think that should be your aim again, because for one, the Bills can't run the football anyway. So if you give them the sort of short yardage, let them. I also looked up. The Bills have attempted the second most play actions this year. Who the fuck is biting on play action when it's the Buffalo Bills? You shouldn't be biting at all. Do you know what I mean?
Let him run.
Like if Devin Singletary's not been good, Zach Moss, that we all know that the Bills' run game is sort of the best it's been has when Josh Allen's picked the ball and run. But who's biting on play action? Keep the keep the coverage deep down the field. Do not give up the big play, and give him a lot of the underneath stuff, and really make him work. 60, 70, 80-yard drives to get scores. Because if you're having to make him work on long possessions, you know what Mahomes is like on the other side. He could score 2 or 3 without reply, or maybe with a field goal or something replayed. Make Josh Allen work the entire time. Don't give him anything deep and cheap. Make him really work for it. Hard yards, 5 yards, 6 yards, and then hope that Mahomes can, put up points on the other side, I think.
Yeah, I think if there's one team that's probably less likely to go for the big explosive game, it might be the Chiefs, just because they won't want Mahomes getting hit again. Mm-hmm. Whether I don't think it'll make a difference, but I think they're more likely to go, let's just get the ball out of his hands a bit quicker, and they'll try and hit Tyreek short and that kind of thing. So I think their big playability is more likely to be limited than the Bills. And I just think if you keep giving Josh Allen the short stuff, like Bills are very efficient in the red zone and have been all year. So I think it's all right saying give him the underneath stuff, but if he keeps taking it, getting himself down the field, keeping Pat Mahomes on the sideline and scoring points, what do you do there?
I'm just sort of thinking, last week, Josh Allen put up 10 points by giving him the underneath stuff. It was the play, the pick 6 interception that got them to the 17. So if you really make them work for it, and now I think the Ravens defense is better than what the Chiefs can offer you, but if you can keep him down, if you they kept him to 10 points, if you can keep him in a low scoring game, I think you've nearly essentially won it, because there's not a game that I watch or go into and think that the Chiefs aren't scoring 21 points. Yeah. As I said, I think if you can take away the deep ball and the big play opportunities for Buffalo, I think that you've got a better chance of sealing it up. Although, as I said, that Stephon Diggs has been absolutely outrageous and one of the best receivers in the league this year. And there's not really, as I said, you've got Breland and Snead there and Honey Badger and stuff. They're good, but there's no lockdown corner there. Diggs could put on a bit of a clinic,
He's only got to get it right once, and he'll take it 80 yards. And you could double cover Diggs very well, and he'll still catch it.
Mm-hmm. Aye, that's the thing too. But the other one, suppose small thing, is that the Bills' front seven isn't great. The Bills' front seven hasn't been fantastic all year. It's Matt Milano's been okay at linebacker. He's been fine. Ed Oliver has been okay. Ed Oliver hasn't been Ed Oliver, but he's been okay. And if you're gonna have to, if you're not getting the pressure there, as you said earlier, you have to get pressure with 4. But if you have to start blitzing against Mahomes, I think I seen a stat yesterday that I think Mahomes is rated, his passer rating is first in the league versus the blitz. So if you're not getting pressure with your 4, he's going to slice and dice you.
I think you're being harsh. I think their front seven's all right. You can't say their front seven's not great. They stopped the Ravens from scoring any more than 3 points last week. They must be doing something all right.
That's the kicker, isn't it? Last week they looked just exponentially better.
Yeah.
Than they have all season.
I don't know. Wouldn't rule them out. What do you reckon?
They're both very similar here. It is both sort of high-powered offenses with sort of bend but don't break defenses.
Mm.
And one other one, just quickly, I've seen that the Bills led the league in third down conversion.
Yeah,
Which
I'm talking about with Josh Allen. If you give him the short stuff, he'll take it.
Um, what am I thinking? No, I'll go Chiefs 31 to 20. Bills.
31-20.
Yeah.
Love me.
Oh, he'll be fuming. He'll be absolutely fuming. 31 to 20. I think one other wee quick thing is that this could be very like dependent on the game script. You know, if the Chiefs get out here and score early, for example, maybe go 14-3 up, there's just going to be that wee bit more pressure on Josh Allen, this sort of young Bills team that hasn't really been there and done it before, and then they might have to start chasing the game a wee bit. And there's been a few times where like Josh Allen's coughed the ball up and they've ended up recovering it. So I think that he's probably more prone to a turnover, more prone to a pick. And, if you throw a bad one somewhere along the lines and give, the Chiefs an advantageous position or, starting field position, I think the difference will be is that the Chiefs will probably get out to a better start. It'll put a wee bit more pressure on the Bills, and then I think Josh Allen will give you one. I think that he'll turn the ball. I think he'll turn the ball over once. He'll either throw a bad pick or he'll give the ball up or something, and then I think they'll be in a position where they'll have to really chase it, and it mightn't work for them. It'll be prevent defense for the Chiefs, and they'll not give up anything cheap or deep.
I'm going Bills.
Fuck off.
Yes, we know. I'm going 27-24. I just think Josh Allen's got this worked out, and I think that defense will play well enough to stop the big play. And I think he's just him and Diggs will just do something, and it'll work. I can see the Bills doing it. And if Pat doesn't play, I'm definitely right.
Well, lad, Henny's in now. Henny's in. That's a vesty pleasing pick there. No, I think it'll be a tight. I think that just the Chiefs could get out to a bit more of a quicker start, maybe a better start, and then that'll put a wee bit more pressure on the Bills. And I trust Andy Reid too.
Yeah, I can get on board with that.
Yeah.
That was so ballsy in the last game, so fair play to him.
Oh, that was the biggest stones on the planet.
I wouldn't begrudge Chiefs winning it at all.
No. Right. Big one then. Even though that other one's very, very big too, but this one just feels big.
I'm more excited about this one.
Yeah. Packers, Buccaneers at Packers. This is going to be good. No matter this can't not be good. What do you think, Clive? What do you think? I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, I think it's going to be an interesting one in that Rodgers is playing on lights since week 11. He's been ridiculous, and nobody has even came close to slowing him down. It hasn't happened. He's thrown one interception since week 11. Which is just ridiculous. So I think how do you stop him? Because that's the main thing. Brady wasn't brilliant, like you said. He wasn't brilliant against the Saints. They lived off the turnovers. Rodgers isn't giving you turnovers. It's not happening.
No.
So I think that'll be interesting. It does give snow showers and freezing conditions for the game, which I think people are probably talking about too much in terms of Brady. Like, it's as if Brady never played in New England for like 20 years, where it turns out it's quite cold. So I wouldn't worry about him. Would I worry about the rest of the team? Maybe slightly more. I think they played each other in week 6, didn't they? And Bucks wiped the floor with them, won 38-10, and that was Rodgers' worst game of the season. What did he throw? He went 16-35, no touchdowns, 2 picks, and got sacked 4 times. Sacked 5 times and got hit 13 times.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot that won't happen. I know they had Bakhtiari for that game as well, who's obviously still not playing, but they've turned it around since then. So I don't know. I can't see the Bucks having enough to beat the Pack, and they don't have enough to beat the Pack at Lambeau.
I honestly, I've looked at stats, I've looked at, different things, sort of where they've been at, how the teams have progressed a wee bit over the season, and I just don't know who's going to win this. Like,
make the argument for the Bucks, because I will argue the Packers.
Right. What'll I go for in as far as the Bucks goes? I suppose initially you can draw at least a little bit of experience and a little bit of knowledge as far as you've done this to them already this season. You've made Aaron Rodgers uncomfortable back there. You did put him under a lot of pressure. The Bucks have the best rush defense in the league this season, so that's maybe neutralizing a weapon that that's absolutely fantastic in Aaron Jones. And then as far as what I will say is, and I'll put it like this too, and I'll see what you think. As far as each side, offense, defense, Packers and Bucks, the worst out of that four, I think, is the Packers defense. If you're taking the Packers offense, defense, Bucks offense, defense, if you're categorizing them or ranking them, the Packers defense is the worst. Now you can argue that probably that the Green Bay's offense is better, but then in the middle you have the Bucks. The Bucks offense has been pretty good this season, and then in spells and in spurts, the Bucks defense has been good. They had a sort of good start, then a sort of little bit of a lull in the middle of the season, and then have obviously come back as far as even last week, and they had another good game.
Yeah, I think the bit that people are missing is how good the Packers' run game is. You've got to remember that the Packers played against the best defense in the league last week.
Yeah.
The best defense in the league in not great conditions, and got 165 yards from scrimmage out of Aaron Jones and 2 touchdowns. So they're now playing the second best defense in the league. So I wouldn't overlook that. I think that if they don't give the ball away, Brady's got to do some crazy things, and I think the Bucks run game's good, absolutely, but Brady's going to have to, at some point, he's going to have to hit the accelerator and score some touchdowns. And is he going to be able to do that against, as much as you're saying the Packers defense is not great, the bit that's good is the deep backs, where you've got Jair Alexander and that lot. That's the bit that's really good. The front seven's not quite as good. So interesting. Can the Bucks get after Rodgers enough? Have I seen enough to suggest that? Did they really get after Breeze? Not really. I think they did last week. He didn't play well, but he wasn't on the ground too many times. I think the Packers will go after Brady. 100% they will. I think they'll if anything, they might let him throw. And the conditions will allow for that. Like the Packers, even though like you're talking about the Rams line last week that had like Andrew Whitworth in it, who's one of the best tackles in the league, they sacked Goff 4 times. If Brady gets sacked 4 times next week, I don't think they win.
No. It's been weird because, like, as you're sort of saying, like last week, obviously the Packers defense really stepped up and played great against the Rams and stuff. But like, looking at some of the numbers, the Bucks are first in the league against the rush. They're 4th in the league in sacks, and they were second most in QB hits. So they've been there, but like both teams have both defenses and even maybe sort of at some point both offenses have taken a few games off here and there and haven't just been as consistent. So it's very hard to, like, this is what I've sort of been thinking. It's very hard to sort of, even when you're looking at, some games when you break them down or you look at some of the numbers and stuff, you go, well, there's a glaring weakness. There's an area that can 100% be exploited. But, as you said, the Packers sort of up front hasn't been great this season, but can turn in performances like they did last week. The Bucks had a sort of a spell of sort of coming down the stretch in the regular season where the Bucks defense looked quite vulnerable, and now it looks like they're still getting a wee bit more pressure, and they got a few picks last week and stuff too. So I have no idea what way this game's going to go.
Well, here's my question to you then: who's covering Davante Adams?
That's a problem.
that is because you look at their picks last week. Who got the picks?
Sean Murphy, Bunting. Did Devin White not get one?
Devin White did. A lot of it was short stuff over the middle, which Drew has to throw because he can't make the deep ball. That's not happening with the Packers. They'll just go straight over the top of him. Who's covering Devontae?
Antoine Winfield Jr.'s been good. Antoine Winfield Jr.'s been good in that second. He's had a great year.
He wasn't drafted in the second round, was he? That was crazy.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping that the Vikings would take him just for nostalgia's sake, for having his dad all them years. But I think I'll look. The Bucs front seven's good. If they've already done this to Rodgers this year, and the Bucs front seven on defense is very good. Shaq Barrett in there, Devin White, Ndamukong Suh. I think Vita Vea is meant to be back this week. That front seven can really, really generate pressure on their day, and they have that is essential to winning this game. Like if they can harry and harass and hit Rodgers, then that could lead them to win the game. That's where the game could definitely be won and lost, because I think that both quarterbacks have the potential to play well here. In all honesty, I think that it's an NFC Championship game. Both these guys are going to really, really, really want to turn up on this. But I would have. See, this is where it doesn't make any sense. I would have more faith in the Bucs front seven generating pressure on Rodgers than I would on Green Bay's front seven. But at the same time, I would have more faith in Aaron Rodgers dissecting that sort of weak, young, inexperienced secondary of the Buccaneers. Yeah. So they have to get the balance right. They have to get pressure early and quick. They can't hang around and let Rodgers and Devontae Adams just he can't be rolling out of the pocket and waiting and slinging it down the field, because them corners and safeties aren't experienced enough or good enough to cover the likes of Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers.
What's Brady's stat line going to look like at the end of this game? Realistically. They're playing in the snow.
Yeah.
He's playing against that set of defensive backs.
But lad, this could be one of them games where Brady has 225 yards, 1 touchdown, but he's also, the offense has also ran in 2 more because he's got them down there, and then he just hands it off to Fournette and he falls into the end zone or something. I'm there's so many, every time I think of one contradiction on one side of the ball, the Bucs have been better running the ball recently too, and Green Bay haven't been great against the rush.
They're all right last week against the Rams. I know the Rams and Cam Akers, you wouldn't exactly say is elite. I think like I said, 244 yards is all they got of total offense. So yeah, it's hard to look past the Pack, I think, altogether. A 5th seed team has never beat a 1 seed in the history of the NFL playoffs.
But nobody else has won 6 Super Bowl rings either.
But he's 42 and he's going to play at Lambeau against the MVP.
I don't know. There's even both off. For one, this is the best offense that Aaron Rodgers has had since his, the 2010s or whatever.
Yeah.
When it was back when it was Greg Jennings and was Donald Driver still there and stuff. Yeah,
I'd agree with that. Absolutely.
You've got Robert Tonyan. Lazard's been good in spurts. Valdez-Scantling can show up every now and again. Tonyan had 11 TDs this season.
Yeah.
And then you have Aaron Jones out of the backfield. And even without Bakhtiari, that line's been pretty damn good, as well. And Rodgers is ticking. He's really smooth at the minute. He's really, really smooth at the minute. That offense is purring.
Yeah. Well, I agree. But the thing about the playoffs, which I love about playoffs, is that, it's all about the big matches, and it's really exciting to see Adams against Ramsey last week and all that kind of thing. But the playoffs is where you have to go to somebody who's not touched it all year and hasn't factored, and he will end up getting a 100-yard game because he's the only person they haven't game plan for. And that is what I'm looking forward to see. And I think Rodgers is good at that because he's made people like Lazard look like he's a really good player when he's not elite, is he? And he's got a lot of good players in there. So I think he will go further down the depth chart than Brady will. I think they've got more down there.
But then you look at like fucking Scotty Miller coming in and catching a massive play last weekend too. You know, they're so similar. Like, you know, you have like Devontae, Robert Tonyan's been very good. You know, Brady's got Gronk and Devontae, or Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and everything too. They're very similar. They've got a lot of offensive weapons. They can run the ball competently. Both lanes have stood up. Both offensive lanes have stood up fairly well this season. Like, you know, I don't want to be, you know, when you're trying to look at numbers and you're trying to sort of pick matchups and stuff, you know, everybody does it. Oh, it's the Brady Rodgers head to head. It's never any quarterback head to head because, it's one offense versus a defense. But genuinely in this matchup, it's who can probably perform slightly better than the other here, as you know, because they're so similar. Both teams are very similar, you know.
Yeah, I'm going Pack. I just can't see it not being Pack.
That's right. Give me a scoreline then.
It'll be close. It'll be lower scoring than everybody thinks because the weather will be shocking. And I could see it being a really tight 24-21 win to the Pack. Like, there's nothing else.
I was going to say 24-21 as well.
There'll be less points in this than the other game.
I'll go 24-21 Buccaneers then for the crack.
So we've completely disagreed on both games.
Yeah. Right, it's 24-21, so it's going to be tight. Where's the key? Right, it's very hard to break it down. Where's the key place, the key battle, the key area, or the key part of the game that wins it for the Pack by 3 points?
They have got more potential to make big plays and score in a game that's going to be tight scoring. I think they will get a really long touchdown out of somewhere that'll completely swing it. Brady's brilliant, but the arm isn't quite what it was in terms of length, and he's going to have to be very methodical and go down the field on a day where it's going to be shocking weather, and a big play is going to swing it. Now, my money is on Rodgers doing that on a play. If the Bucs do it on defense and do it with a turnover or something like that, that might be it. Like the 101-yard interception in the other game last week. But I just think there's more potential out of the Packers defense just to chuck one up to Adams and he just takes it and that swings it.
I'll go with this game is incredibly tight the entire way through, and there's no separating either team, but Brady has the ball last. And they kick one.
Vinatieri's back in, is he?
Yeah. I'll go with he moves him down the field methodically enough, burns the clock, and sets up a 32-yarder for the win. There you go.
Out sweeping the snow again like they did with Vinatieri.
Oh, aye, lad.
Glorious. Glorious.
Aye, well, that's good now. Fair enough. Right, everybody. So I've been doing a few of these videos, and last night I started recording them on the podcast as well. So you can go back to Spotify and check out the podcast over there as well on the audio. And I'll still be throwing these YouTube videos up. I've got myself a friggin' light and stuff as well, so we'll be looking the part as far as doing the YouTube videos go. And then hopefully shortly enough we'll have Vesty and all the rest of the boys back in and recording for good, hopefully. But the best thing to do is follow our Instagram page. It keeps you up to date on what's out on either YouTube or the podcast streaming sites. So follow our Instagram page, Irish Case Podcast at Instagram, and it'll keep you up to date.
Need your reaction quickly to 2 bits of NFL news that's just broken.
Jesus.
Thumbs up or thumbs down. Steelers have just signed Dwayne Haskins. That's what I thought.
Steelers have just signed Dwayne Haskins.
1 year deal.
That means Ben Roethlisberger's coming back for 1 more year, and they are very similar builds, size, and maybe he can teach him a little bit on how to play the position because the Cub doesn't have a clue.
Fair enough. Eagles have just or will hire Colts offensive coordinator Nick Sirianni as their next head coach.
Fair enough. Wasn't Frank Reich not in Philadelphia under Dougie P? No,
I thought he was Arizona.
I'm gonna have to double check that. Frank Reich's the head coach in Indianapolis, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm nearly sure Frank Reich was there in Philadelphia. So now they've maybe pinched his OC.
Yeah. Do you reckon that's a better appointment than Dan Campbell at the Lions?
Yeah, but nobody's done better than what the Jags have done.
I went and got Urban Meyer. Yeah. that was a great move.
That's what you do. You go and get one of the best college head coaches of all time to come and take a young man and lead him down the road.
Yeah.
There's the best hire of the offseason as far as head coaching goes.
Those
I also seen
but all right.
I also seen very fucking tentative links for the Vikings to sign Doug Peterson as a OC, and I'm about to rack it.
No.
Right. Well, that'll do. Cheers for coming on, Clive. We'll maybe get you back on, and we'll do something for the Super Bowl as well, probably.
Yeah, Pack Bills, big good game.
Aye, so I've went Buccaneers Chiefs then, Aye, right, fair enough. Right, thanks very much for listening, folks, and tuning in. This one will be out tonight. Yeah, keep an eye out on our Instagram page. It'll keep you up to date with everything that's going on. And I will hopefully be back. Well, I've got another. I think I might do another one tomorrow on something, and then maybe some football stuff over the weekend or next week and stuff. So I keep tuning in. Thank you and good luck. Say goodbye, Clive.
Goodbye, Clive.
Cheers.